In that case, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have a change in the order of deputations because I think we're going to have Wester Hills Education Centre next, along with Rick, because I think, what's her name? Amanda needs to go. Early.
Performance schools are 1,600 in Scotland.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Welcome. If you just want to introduce your, I think we all know each other now. Who's going to lead off? Is Amanda going to lead off, or are you going to lead off, Rick?
Yeah. Are you going to introduce yourself, Amanda?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. After yourself.
Can I just explain why I'm here? Because Amanda has a really bad throat today, so it's just in case she cannot speak or has a coughing fit, I will refer to her script.
Okay, that's good.
Can I thank everyone for being patient with my coughing? Thank you. This deputation has probably been written quite differently from the other deputations that have been given. What I did was I consulted the parents. You know, that's what I am. I'm chair of the Parent Council, and that's what I'm there for, is to represent every parent in the school. So I went to the parents and I said, what do you want me to say? I'm going to give this deputation. I need it to be in your words that I can give back to the council about your feelings regarding this. And I've kind of put a bit of structure to it, what I got back from them. This is what I've got. Wester Hills Education Centre is a small school, and that is needed to suit the needs of a community, a deprived environment for many, and also living hectic lifestyles. In school, many of the children develop strong relationships with their peers and teachers in an environment where they know and appreciate, where they know and are appreciated as a whole person and not just a classmate or a student. Relationships like these help the students to feel safe and included regardless of their differences. Strong student-teacher relationships help students feel comfortable taking risks, both academically and socially. This can lead to a greater social and emotional development. The teachers in WHEC go above and beyond to help the students in whatever way needed. Students with this close bond have a trust that they feel they can go to the teachers with both personal and educational issues. It has to be said, would this be possible? And I quote, super school? Relationships would become harder due to the large volume of students and personal achievement, maybe less recognised due to the size of the school and due to the volume of the students. There is a pupil council in WHEC, and their views are taken into account regarding decisions that are discussed with them. The good relationship is there between the students and teachers, and this is built on trust and understanding with mutual respect. The pupils can walk down the corridor, and every teacher that passes will know their name, giving them a sense of belonging. For some of the students in WHEC, home life can be extremely hectic, as previously mentioned, and school may be the only stability that they have. And there are strong links with the community to be taken into account. The fragmentation of families in today's society has left communities subsiding. Sorry, that's my writing. Has left communities substituting for families to an extent. The WHEC is the social hub for the community. Classes are taken by adults of all ages, and the pool is in constant use by young and the old also. The WHEC also has a lot of clubs, from dance to exercise. We will observe the ballet class, for one, as an example. The class in the WHEC is far more affordable. This could be due to the location, and due to this, the class is more affordable for many students to attend. Students also attend the gym after school and during the holidays. In the words of the pupils, Wester Hailes is so much more than a school. They take a great pride in their school and are proud of their school, and they all now wear a full uniform. It has made a big impact upon their sense of belonging and feeling with their pride. For some of these pupils, this sense of belonging has helped them along enormously and has really increased their own self-worth. If you remove the school from the community, there would be nothing left. The students wouldn't have somewhere that is theirs to be proud of. A special value is placed upon mentoring with 20 minutes a day. The mentoring making sure that there are no issues, giving the pupils a chance to share concerns that can be tackled straight away. Would this be possible in a super school? Teachers find it easier to find out the strengths and weaknesses of their students in a smaller school. This also takes pressure away from the teachers, as well as the pupils, and also be able to have regular contact with the parents if needed. Smaller schools like WHEC can also enforce a sense of responsibility to the community. And if you remove WHEC from the community, where does that leave the community? There will no longer be one. This applies to both schools, Curry and WHEC. They are both community high schools, and the closure of both could also be detrimental to each area. Our schools are built around them. Communities are built around them, as the schools are very much the heart of the community. Parents are worried about how their children will cope with this. They are familiar with WHEC. The primary schools attend WHEC for various reasons. They are already feeling as if they're part of the school because they're involved in the running. They're in the school. They're doing classes in the school. There are vulnerable children in every school, I can imagine. Please don't make them more vulnerable by placing them into a larger environment. They could possibly become lost in, be unable to cope. This is a great concern for many of the parents of the children in Wester Hailes Education Centre. I've received many emails and messages regarding the concerns. Here is one that stood out from me. A parent named Callie Douglas. This is what she said. I have one daughter in S1 just now, and my son is coming up after summer. My main concern, if the move does go ahead, that my son will be highly affected as he suffers from a form of autism, and change doesn't come easy for him. And I feel that moving him again to a new school will affect his mental well-being and put him back to square one, which isn't what I want for him. And he's such a clever boy. When I read an email like that, I want to say everything will be okay. But I can't tell her that. Only you can. Because you are the ones with the authority telling us all what will be the outcome from all of this. There are many children in Wester Hailes living far more challenges than any other child should have to face. The guidance department works extremely hard in the school, facing these challenges on a daily basis, dealing with a wide variety of issues with the children. There is also the breakfast club that needs to be mentioned. There is no charge for this and ensures the students have breakfast before the start of every day. The depravity and lack of finances in the area is observed within the number of free school meals. It's 42.5% for WHEC. And this may highlight the fact, that this is an area of deprivation. And sometimes these kids don't go to school having a breakfast. And at least in school they'll get the free lunch. Some of them don't go home and get a dinner in the evening. But at least the school know they're getting a breakfast and they're getting a decent amount of food in the afternoon, and the school are doing their bit. And as I said, there is no charge for this. This is free to any child that wishes to attend. Another contributing factor, it may be snowing, it may be pouring with rain. These parents might not be able to provide bus fares, for these kids to get to school. What happens? Do the kids not go to school? So do the kids miss out on an education because they're going to be soaking wet by the time they get to the building that they have to walk to? That's not fair. It really isn't fair at all. And that's about all I have to say with the feedback from the parents. And apart from the fact that the teachers, I have to say again, do go above and beyond for these kids, and they genuinely care. Thank you. One more thing. Sorry, one more thing. I would have liked to have brought kids from the WHEC here also, but we didn't think it was a good idea. Well, they decided in the school that it wasn't a good idea to bring the children. So what I did was I got the pupil council and I structured a survey. So there is feedback from the pupils that you can see, and I'll submit this today for you as well. Thank you.
And I'll circulate around the committee. Rick?
Thank you very much. I'd just like to say some of the background. I know the WHEC very well because I used to do sexual health within the City of Edinburgh Council. I used to be part of the sexual health team until the funding ran out 18 months ago. And so I've done 10 years' worth of sexual health across the city and spoken to 20,000 students in that time. The WHEC is much improved to what it was when I first went there in 2005, that's for sure. And I hope that we can save it. I've done work on basically a snapshot of the environment across the 4 schools. I find it incredulous in 2018 that you do a 72 page report and there's not an iota of greenness across it. In fact, because of the work that you've done, everybody is continuously hammering Curry End Park, and you just can't wait to get some houses on it, can you? You can't wait to get 3,000 trees off it, People say to me Curry End Park in Wester Hales is underused. It's only underused by humans. Okay. 50 years ago this year, the great social experiment of Wester Hales was started. And there you are, all now, potentially wanting to close 4 schools and making 2, doing 4 schools and 3 swimming pools and closing that lot, and patting yourself on the back from basically how much money you're going to save because, your portfolio of council buildings will be minuscule compared to what it is at the moment. You have to think that Wester Hales, when it was first built, there were no buses to it, there was no shops to it, there was no play areas, there was no health centre, but everybody was out of the slums, and this was called progress. Today the Harling is falling off the walls, the gutterings are life expired, the tiles are off the roofs, and the green spaces that were in front of the blocks have been tarmacked and resin bound. And this is also called progress. 53 years ago, the Belerno Loop was closed to passenger traffic, and everybody had to bus or walk or drive. Belerno Height is actually on the trackbed of the Belerno Loop. The wildlife of Wester Hales, which of course Wester Hales was built on farmland, has adapted to the concrete jungle because that's what we live in. There's 18,000 of us there. There used to be 23,000. But they had to knock all those flats down, remember, because of the black damp of the place. But at least it was wildlife, I suppose. I've recorded 86 bird species in Wester Hales in the 10 years I've been there, 40 breeding species. There are currently 15 red data species just in Wester Hales that are breeding species. And there's kind of like 4 or 5 more if I include Balerno as well, like kingfisher, for example, and stuff like that. And 22 on the amber list. If you demolish the WHEC, then urban oyster catchers won't have anywhere to go, and there will definitely be a land grab. You know, I reckon you could probably get about 300 to 400 flats on there. If you demolished the site at Balerno, I could see £1 million houses on that site. I really can. Just like has happened all the way along the water of Leith. The thing is that nobody looks about the Dorbenton's bats that's in the area. They don't like it. Light, they get affected by light pollution. But, like I said, there's nothing green in your proposals, so you don't know about this, but you never look for it. There's nobody has ever come to me from the council and said, ask Rick, he probably knows what's going on in the area, because nobody's ever bothered. Or it seems that way. The council provide our new report for 2018. Look what we've done and all this kind of stuff. It's really thin on detail, and that's because you're doing the bare minimum. I wanted to say that some of our farmland birds in Europe are town birds. We've actually pushed them to the farmland because there's nowhere else for them to go. We are so good at making food that we actually now throw 30% of it away every year. Do you know what I mean? Between Balerno and Wester Hales, there's at least 50 breeding species of bird, and I don't actually know how much more wildlife because I've not had actually a chance to have a look. But you've never looked. If you're prepared to develop the Blue Goose pub into student accommodation by the Water of Leith Visitor Centre and slab the canal at Fountain Bridge with the new Borrowmere School, I can't wait to see the plans if you gap site any of these 4 schools. There's 4 black holes potentially going to be punched into the community here, and you're about to go and create an even bigger experiment than Wester Hales was in the beginning, because instead of affecting 24,000 people, I said you'll be affecting 42,000 people. I don't know whether you can actually sit there and call this progress. And those are some of my environmental concerns across all 4 areas. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thanks very much, Rick. Any questions to the deputation? Susan.
This is a question for yourself, Amanda, if you don't mind. I was at one of the workshops at WHEC, and I was very impressed with the uniforms, very, very proud to wear them. But we mentioned at that about a creche that you used to have.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could maybe outline a bit about that and how that was used to tackle the attainment gap.
The creche was provided initially for young mothers who got into difficulty, we'll put it, and wanted to continue with school. So they could have their children, put them in the creche, and continue with their education and leave with a full education. Many of them went on to do hires and did extremely well. They have now closed the creche in WHEC. There wasn't any explanation given as to why it was closed. I only found out it was closed weeks after it shut down. And it was only through conversation that I actually found out. And I was extremely appalled that I wasn't notified of this or told. You know, because this affects the kids, affects the parents, it affects everybody. And I felt, you know, I'm chair of the parent council, should I not be told this? You know, and I wasn't told. No information was given at all. And it was only leaked when someone asked, oh, how's the creche going? And the reply was, oh, the creche doesn't exist anymore. And I went, what? When did this happen? Nobody told me. And so that's my answer to that.
Okay, you want to follow up soon?
Just a quick one. Yes, Amanda, was that a creche that was just for catchment pupils from WHEC, or did pupils come from across the city?
Pupils came from all over Edinburgh.
Okay, Eleanor?
Sorry, with permission, can I possibly just say, because it is related to the creche, I was actually a member of staff at the Wester Hales Education Centre as an instrumental teacher for 8 years, and both of my sons with autism attended that creche when they were babies. So it was also about a community creche. It was also about the fact that I was teaching these young mums, but then actually I was interacting with them as a mother within that creche as well. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and many, many thanks for coming for your deputation. It's great to hear from you. And I think I would agree with you that the ethos of a school is key. And we do, all in our lives. There was just a paper that came to Education, Children and Families, the last one, and it was mentioning about how change is almost inevitable in our lives, but it's the nurturing environment that we give our young people, and actually throughout our lives, into adulthood as well, the nurturing learning environment that we give them. And obviously, as a committee, as a council, it's our responsibility to provide that for all our children, and we do an awful lot of work on poverty-proofing the school day, and in providing, the highest level of educational facility and provision that we can for all our children. So I suppose my question might be, and I would also add, just before I ask my question, that obviously the bus pass, I think there was a suggestion there was going to be a free bus pass within 3 miles or something like that. So that maybe can be, readdressed. And also, the community hub's suggestion as well about WHEC staying as a community hub, because I'm getting that very strongly from you, that you would really still want it to be central to the community, and that's very, very important, and, as a building. But have you had any response back from parents regarding the potential positive impacts or educational benefits of something like is suggested in option 3?
Not overwhelmingly, no. And I'm only being honest. I mean, there have been a few. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, no, it was 100%. Nobody wants this. There were a few that said, no, a nice new school, that would be wonderful. But the biggest majority of parents, they want the WHEC to stay there. They want what's best for their kids. And they think that they really believe that they would nurture better in a smaller school, a smaller environment.
Alison?
Amanda, thanks. And I really relate to what you're saying in terms about that supportive, environment that's needed. I just want to ask a wee bit of an honest question, and I want to because I'm really interested in your perspective on this. There's absolute strong research out there that is actually saying that it's, you've mentioned poverty and you've mentioned deprivation, and it's saying, yes, that absolutely impacts, but the greater impact is actually the stigmatisation and the labelling by others. Now, we're coming in a spirit for inclusion. We're about all of Edinburgh's children. I think every politician around this room would want to be thinking about all of Edinburgh's children. So I'm interested from your perspective about, because I get a sense when I was at the workshops that, some of that feeling of community was because you give each other that support when there is a labelling that goes on out there. I just want to know your thoughts on that and how you feel, or anybody feels about that, Do you feel that is something that happens?
I don't like labelling either, and I don't like the kids labelled, oh, you're from a deprived area, you have no money, that kind of, you have no nice clothes, you can't have nice trainers, all that kind of thing, and it's not good for their self-esteem. I have to agree there, but purely, I can understand that taking the kids, from your perspective, taking the kids out of WHEC and amalgamating them into a school with other kids, right? There'd be a mixture, and they can mix. Do you get where I'm coming from? And, it's kind of the labelling might kind of deteriorate over time. But then again, there's the educational factors. And I don't really believe, and because the vast majority of parents don't believe either, that their kids will thrive in a larger school. And that's the bottom line to that, if that answers your question.
Then Maureen.
Amanda, congratulations on getting through what you were saying.
I know, I've done well.
More effectively than the Prime Minister was able to recently. I wanted to pick up. You gave a kind of account of the views of parents, which obviously, that's, you said that's your job as a parent council chair. And as somebody who was at the workshop at the WHEC, it sounded authentic, and that's what people were saying at the workshop as well. Mm-hmm. If that consensus is what you're saying, that the WHEC should stay as a community school, what is it you'd like to see happen to continue to improve and continue to ensure that the WHEC can do the very best for the children who are there?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I mean, well, obviously we've had the condition report. There is upgrade needed. Obviously to work on the school. I mean, there's ongoing work going on just now. I don't know how much of the work that's in the condition report has already been carried out. I'm not aware of that. For one point, but obviously to continue with the work that's being done and upgrade the school, make the school more appealing, because I do believe that if you do make the school more appealing, with going back to the labelling and the stigma of WHEC, oh no, you don't want to send your children to WHEC, and that is, you do get that, and I do hear that from a lot of people. But you upgrade the school, you make the school look better, you make the school more appealing, more children will go. I do believe that. I can see that happening because, I've heard from a lot of parents who send their children to other schools. Oh, but they don't have that and they don't have that. I said, well, if they did, would they go there? Well, probably, yeah.
On that final point, I mean, I can see that point in relation to the building and the facilities. Does that also apply that, you don't have that there, does that also apply to the choices and offer in relation to subject choices but also extracurricular choices? I mean, is that something that comes out? And if so, how do we build that?
Well, we started, they've started a new thing actually for the 5th and the 6th years, like a wider choice curriculum. And not every kid is academic. It's a fact. So they started cake decorating, bike maintenance, practical qualifications that these kids can earn and set them up for maybe, a different kind of qualification in life. Sometimes it's not all about the academic qualifications that are available, because not every kid can pass those. So within the range of qualifications, and choices that can be done in WHEC, yeah, okay, I'll admit, there are limited choices. I mean, for instance, my own child, Erin, she is in 5th year. Now, she has wanted to do the media hire. They're not running the media hire this year, so she can't do it. And she was quite disappointed in that. And I said, right, well, okay, let's look at this. We'll choose something else that will benefit you. And she sat down with guidance, and they had a compromise. And they worked around Erin's career choices and worked something else that will work for Erin. So I fully get the fact, and especially after speaking to parents, and said, no, well, what do they do now? Go to guidance, speak to them, make an appointment with your son or daughter. And they will work a way around this. So for a subject that isn't there anymore, that they go up in years, there is other choices that they can take. So, okay, the subject choice isn't as wide as other schools, but they still have a decent choice and they can still work around the choices that they have. If that's a good enough explanation for you.
Maureen?
Amanda, thanks for coming. I too have a fondness for Wetherhill's Education Centre. My brother almost started off his career there, and it's certainly right at the beginning he was appointed to a media studies and history and modern studies teacher. So I have a great fondness for there, and I've been to the swimming pool when our kids were yay high. So I have a great fondness for it, and I've visited it also when a previous head teacher was part of that, and thought it's a great community facility, absolutely fantastic. So I have a huge fondness for it. But my question is really about those that choose not to send their children to Wester Hills, maybe send them to Curry or elsewhere. And while I appreciate you represent the current parent body there, you have, as a community, a representative role in the sense of the parent body and the community send their children elsewhere already. And how well are they integrated when they come to the community centre? Are they part of the community too? Or do you feel they've gone out of the community already and they're not? Because there's no abandonment of Wester Hills housing, no matter what, it's still full of people. The place is still full of people. They have a hub in the sense of the community centre, but they choose to send their children elsewhere currently because they can opt in. So I was thinking earlier when the deputations were concerned, we can plan all we like for a number of children going to a school. We can plan the building, whether it's 600, 1,200 or any number we like, but the parents choose to send their children to school because of the leadership and management. And yes, the building is important, but also the school community is important. So I just wondered what your thoughts were in terms of the Wester Hills community as it is now, whether the kids go to the local school or whether they don't.
Yeah, I know. I mean, some of my daughter's friends go to Foresters and St Augustine's. But you also have to take into the equation that there is religious schools as well. And, where religion, some parents choose to send their kids to St Augustine's because they have a religious faith. And they are included in the numbers as well. So I would like to actually know, I don't know the numbers, for how many just for Foresters and how many for St Augustine's. And that would be interesting to find out what those numbers are. Even, I know that there are a couple of my daughter's friends that actually go to Foresters. So, short of making the school look more appealing, that would maybe entice the parents more to send their kids there. But I also have to say that I also had a comment from another parent who was actually at a meeting we held in WHEC, and her son is in second year and he started school in Foresters and had to leave Foresters because he could not cope with the size of the school, and she moved him to WHEC where it was smaller. And he adapted wonderfully, and he's doing very well in school. So there is also kids that do move to Foresters, but I think sometimes people forget about the kids who come back to WHEC because they move there, or they start at Foresters and they can't cope with it, or they think, oh no, it isn't as good there as I thought it was, and I want to be somewhere smaller, and they come back to WHEC.
We have all these figures. And
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh,
so we
I
can
don't.
circulate
I didn't
them.
have that one.
We can circulate them round, and also to yourselves, so you can look at them. We also have the figures of the pupils who move from school to school. Morning.
I just had another question, if you'll indulge me. The Portobello High School is quite a large school, and it was in a comparison in the papers here. My sons went there. My grandchildren are. Well, one of them is going there right now. And what struck me all the way through, a very big school, 1,400 at one stage. Not a very good building, horrible building at one stage, now a new building. But people send their kids there actually because of the quality of learning and teaching and because of the pastoral care that they had. And what was striking about Portobello High School, and still is that they manage within a large school to make it feel like a small school because of the way they organise the guidance and the right through school of kids supporting each other. So it makes it feel like a smaller community rather like a village within a large city. It has the advantages of the large city, as Edinburgh does, and yet you live in a community where you know your neighbours and so on. So maybe not every teacher knows every child, but somebody does, and that's what's important to kids, is somebody is there for them and is their guidance teacher. So I'm just wondering if you could reflect on that, maybe not immediately, but think there are ways of organising a school that make it feel like a smaller community when a larger one.
I think that was a comment rather than a question. Okay, is there any other questions for the deputation? In that case, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I suggest we have a 10-minute comfort break before the next one and just apologise?